This is on page 446. Yes. So we want to solve for theta. We have tan of theta equals negative 4 over 3. And now that we're in grade 11 and we're looking from 0 to 360 degrees, we're going to have to use reference angles and we're going to have to use our cast rule. So first of all, if we're solving for this, we use our cast rule to think about where our final answers are going to be. Tan is negative. The cast rule tells us where things are positive. They're all positive in quadrant 1, so it cannot be quadrant 1. I'm going to put X through that because tan is negative. And tan is positive in quadrant 3, so it cannot be in quadrant 3 because tan is negative, which means it must be in quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. Not or 2 or 4, thank you. Quadrant 2 or quadrant 4. And we always find our reference angle first. And we find our reference angle by going tan inverse, but reference angles are always positive. And they're always in quadrant 1. Because you're getting an angle to the nearest x-axis. So to find the angle in quadrant 1, right? This is super important. To find your reference angle, you have to go tan inverse of positive 4 over 3. So I go to my calculator, and I go second tan inverse of positive 4 divided by 3.
Why does it have to be positive again?
Because if it is negative, it will not find your reference angle.
What will it find?
It'll find, for tan, it finds a negative angle in quadrant 4. For sine, it finds a negative angle in quadrant 4. And for cosine, it finds a positive angle in quadrant 2.
Okay. So you just
So you could either memorize that and then use that to find your reference angle, or you could just remember, hey, reference angles are, and the reason it's positive for reference angles, I'm just going to push enter and get my answer, 0.927. Oops, I might not be in degrees. No, I am not. Hit my mode button, change to degrees. Type it in again. 53.130 is my reference angle. Now, to further, you had a really good question there. To further explain your question, I could take this reference angle and draw angles in all 4 quadrants. And that's 53, this is 53, this is 53, this is 53. That's what your reference angle is back to your nearest x-axis. When we put that positive number in there, since they're all positive in quadrant 1, it will find the angle in quadrant 1. Sine inverse finds an angle in quadrant 1, cosine inverse finds an angle in quadrant 1, tan inverse of a positive finds an angle in quadrant 1. That's your basic trigonometry you did in grade 10, right? You used right angle triangles. It always found an angle between 0 and 90 degrees because that's what's left in your triangle. Okay? And whatever angle you find in quadrant 1 is always exactly equal to the reference angle. So when we put a positive number in there, that finds the angle in quadrant 1, which automatically finds the reference angle. Whereas if you put the negative in, it'll find a negative angle in quadrant 4, which is going to be just negative your reference angle. Reference angles are always positive. So actually putting the negative in for sine and tan probably would be fine for you. You'd be like, oh, it's negative, but reference angles have to be positive, and I switch it. Where it gets confusing is cos. If you do cos inverse of a negative, it will find this angle, and then you still don't know your reference angle to find your extra answer.
Well, couldn't you just take it away from what's
You can
left?
take it from 180, it's another method. Yeah. This method, by making this positive, makes it easier because it's the same method you could use for all three. Otherwise, you have different methods for each of the three, so it makes your life a little bit easier. Okay? Now, because we knew it was in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4, we're going to, and I'm going to draw the pictures right now so you can visualize it. Here's quadrant 2, here's quadrant 4. Here's my reference angle, this is 53. Is it to the nearest degree, this question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to round that right away to 53 degrees. And we need to find the angle in standard position, so we're looking for this angle, and we're looking for this angle. Okay? If you draw the pictures, it becomes obvious here that this one is going to be 180 minus your reference angle of 53. And if you took at this picture, it's going to become obvious that your angle is going to equal 360 degrees minus that reference angle. Some people memorize those formulas. If you draw the picture, I think they logically make sense. And if something logically makes sense and you don't have to memorize it, you don't have to like I sometimes feel our brains can only hold so much information. You memorize too much new stuff, you forget something else. However, your brains can hold a lot of information if it makes sense. Like that makes sense to me, then you'll remember it. And it takes less brain space. But memorizing things that don't make sense, right? That would be a waste of my time, I think, to memorize all of your middle names. I could do it. I could go into power school. I'd never be able to use it in class. Or do your parents sometimes do that? Some parents use middle names when you're in trouble. It's like, Riley, come here. What's your middle name?
I have two.
2. Okay, they're even better. They were
Goward, Yoler.
Riley Goward Yola, get over here! Right, and then you knew you were in trouble. I don't know, did any of your parents ever do that? Yeah, it's like, I don't know why it's like, once your middle names got used, you were in trouble. You're like, you did something bad. So,
Usually it's my last name.
they use your last
Like
name?
Riley
I don't have
Miller.
middle names.
Okay, then you just have last names. Do you have 2 last names? Or just, yes, see.
But if you don't have a middle name,
Then if, like you said, then maybe your last name. Right?
Really just take you.
I was gonna make some joke. What if you don't have a middle name? Well, your parents probably just didn't like you. Okay, so now, what can we do? We can solve this. We can go to our calculator, and we can say theta is going to equal 180 minus 53, 147 degrees, and theta is going to equal 360 minus 53. 2 answers, 147 degrees,
it's
and
127.
what's that?
127.
127, thank you.
What would we do?
127. Okay, circle questions 14, 15, 16, and 19.